Hello, my name is Dr. Kuykendall, and I am so excited to share this with you today. Honestly, if I had known this when I was dealing with my healthcare crisis with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and severe health issues around anxiety and depression, I would have been so grateful because it would have changed my whole life. Because honestly, with whatever you're struggling with in your healthcare, right? Today we're talking about anxiety, depression, but wherever you are in your health paradigm, the ultimate truth is that there's four primary structures that if you look at these and you look at these in depth, and I'm going to break them down into a 4-part video series starting right now, where we actually talk about the biochemical and nutritional, that's part 1. Then we're going to talk about the toxicity, that's part 2. We're going to talk about emotional component of the body, and number 4 is going to be the structural aspect of the body, which incorporates the bones, the muscles, and also the neurology. So this is going to be extremely powerful, extremely helpful, and very simplified, just so you can understand how this is applicable to you. And if you, wherever you are in your healthcare, you can go through each one of these little boxes and check these boxes off and know that if you're struggling with something chronic or they haven't figured out, that you can go through and very quickly identify what the primary components are. And this is really important. And this is how I worked with over tens of thousands of patients in my practice and continue now to do so online because I like the freedom to move around the world and also still help you so much. So as I refer to my notes, you'll see me look here. So stage 1, right? There's 4 primary aspects of the body. Here's the biochemical and nutritional. Number 1 of biochemical is fuel and activation. Now, fuel is oxygen and glucose. There's only 2 fuels that run your brain, oxygen and glucose. The other part is activation. Now, activation is motion and move it, right? So if you don't move it, you lose it. But if we're looking at the fuel part, the oxygen, right, is your ability to breathe. That's your scalenes, your diaphragm, the ability of your iron in your blood. If you don't have enough, if you have low ferritin or don't have enough oxygenation to the brain, no matter what we do, especially with anxiety and depression, but anything, lethargy, fatigue, brain fog, it's like somebody's strangling you. So we want to identify that very quickly right off the bat. The other part is glucose. That's the other part that really runs the brain. And the glucose part is the ability for your blood sugar to be nice and stable throughout the day. If your blood sugar is doing this all day and bouncing and you're craving coffee and you're craving sugar, what happens is it causes a whole crazy storm where your cortisol is kicking off and it causes this whole endocrine disruption. Now, the other piece of this to understand within the biochemical nutritional part is actually nutrition in and of itself. If you're not getting enough of an essential mineral or an essential nutrient, if you're not getting enough essential fatty acids, and they call them essential fatty acids because they're essential to life, then you're not going to have the building blocks. And just like when you build a house, you're going to need hammers, you're going to need nails, you're going to need screwdrivers. If any of that part is missing, you can't build a house. I don't care how skilled your doctor is. I don't care how skilled the workers are that are there to build it. You won't be able to build that house. And the building blocks of your body are primary and essential. So the third aspect within the biochemical part of this video series is looking at endocrine function. Now, endocrine function is huge. It involves your hypothalamus, your pituitary, your thyroid, your adrenal, your pancreas, which is that whole blood sugar function. And this is how the whole system works. And it's a lot like an air conditioning system. To keep it really simple, there is a thermostat in your body when it says that it's too hot or it's too cold, but we'll say it's too cold in this situation. It sends a signal to a server and it says, hey, we need to turn on the heater, and then the heater comes on and heats up the house. And then when the heater gets warm enough, then the signal is like, okay, we're good. The thermostat's good. We're back at 72 degrees. And so that system now shuts off. This is a normal process that should always run throughout the body. Now, when I refer to the thermostat, I'm referring to the thyroid as primary because it's the primary thing that keeps you warm. It keeps your energy up. It keeps you feeling good. If these systems start to fail, then we start to get into trouble. So some of the things that can happen within this biochemical portion is you can have symptoms of too high of functioning or too low of functioning of the thyroid. Either one of those is going to cause disruption. You can have secondary hypothyroidism, which is caused by pituitary, where it's not signaling enough, so the thyroid dysregulates. So we're going very broad, but I want you to see the big picture here. The other aspect of the endocrine that is really vital and huge in our society today is your adrenal system. And if your adrenal is taxed and pushed and go, go, go all the time, the cortisol is really high, and eventually the body actually fatigue. And those adrenals that sit on top of your kidneys, they call them the suprarenals, sitting on top of the kidneys, they get fatigued and your body will just feel burned out. And no matter what you do, if we don't identify what's really going on the thyroid, and I'm talking about running panels that are looking at 12, 13, 14 different aspects of the thyroid, really thorough from the beginning, we can find out all the information right then and there, and then we know exactly what's out of balance, and we can give you the proper nutrition or support that's going to help the system go back to working. Now, there's two more components, right, of the biochemical part of your body, and that is number 4 is digestion. And so, in many of my other videos and many videos you've seen online, digestion is so important because it's part of the nervous system, the tip of the tongue, all the way to the anus. It's one enteric nervous system. And this nervous system, if it's not functioning properly in your body, the whole system, maybe it doesn't, when you eat food, you don't eliminate your bowels properly, and it takes too long of a gut transit time. Well, that leads to infection and chronic other things that we'll talk about later in the video series. And we'll break down much more detail. But if there's any issue with this affects your neurotransmitter function. To 80-90% of the neurotransmitters of your body that help you feel good are produced in your gut. So we're going to really look at digestion. And finally, the last number 5 of the biochemical part of the body, the biochemical nutritional part of the body, is the hormonal system. And we want to make sure that that hormonal system is functioning properly, because if your luteinizing hormone is really high, your estrogen is going to spike. Or if your testosterone is too high, you're going to have imbalances. Or if it's too low in a man. So we want to make sure that these numbers are all balanced. So this is a broad overview of how, if you understand the 4 primary components of your body, that's biochemical, the toxicity aspect, which we're going to talk about in the next video, the emotional aspect and the emotional components going on in the body, and number 4, the structural components of the body, then you're really doing yourself a huge favor to getting to the root cause of what's ailing you so much quicker. So I will see you in the next video where we talk in more depth around the toxicity aspect of the body.